Last Friday, Nadine Dorries dramatically announced her resignation. This was after it was revealed that the peerage Boris Johnson had promised her just wasn't going to happen. She made her intention to quit very clear, though, by posting this on social media. I have today informed the Chief Whip that I am standing down as the MP for Mid Bedfordshire with immediate effect. It has been an honour to serve as the MP for such a wonderful constituency, but it is now time for another to take the reins. With immediate effect. What does that mean? Well, perhaps not what it says, because Nadine Dorries now seems to have taken it back and remains in her position. In a series of posts, she addressed speculation on why she hasn't left yet, saying this. To put an end to this, I'm awaiting responses to my subject access requests submitted to HOLAC, Cabinet Secretary, and the Cabinet Office, where I will then take the time to properly consider the information I am provided. I've requested copies of WhatsApps, text messages, all emails and meetings of minutes of meetings, both formal and informal, with names of senior figures unredacted. My office continues to function as normal and will, of course, continue to serve my constituents of Mid Bedfordshire as we have done so for the last 18 years until this time. It's absolutely my intention to resign, but given what I know to be true and the number of varying conflicting statements issued by Number 10 since the weekend, this process is now necessary. It's my intention always to go to the gym. Do I manage it? So, Dorries is essentially saying to Rishi Sunak, who, remember, she called a privileged posh boy, not wrong, in her Piers Morgan interview earlier this week, that unless she gets answers, she will be triggering an unwanted by-election in her own sweet time. Can't argue with that. According to Number 10, saying that you're going to resign and then not doing it is, quote, very unusual. It's also a headache. Sunak is facing by-elections in Boris Johnson's seat, as well as in the seat of former MP Nigel Adams, who, like Dorries, resigned when a promised peerage didn't come through. Sunak's plan was to get those, as well as Dorries' by-elections, out of the way next month. But now Dorries looks like she's going to drag it out as long as she can, causing the Prime Minister, who she absolutely loathes, as much damage as possible. Sean, what does it say about our political system that someone can abuse it like this for their own personal vendettas, albeit in a very camp fashion?
Oh, well, I mean, there is something here, right? I mean, like, actually, the whole process of MPs resigning their seats is actually a constitutional convention, i.e., it's actually uncodified. In fact, like in law, I think MPs are not actually allowed to stand down from the House of Commons. They're actually just appointed to a fake role that means that they're disqualified. It's all like very historical and arcane. So there is something here about the fact that we just rely so much on constitutional conventions, i.e., uncodified, unwritten rules for the functioning of Parliament and government, which basically relies on everyone behaving like a decent person with some degree of integrity. Unfortunately, that's not the case. So maybe we need to look at like actually having, modern mechanisms in place. The other point here is, of course, like in principle, I don't really think that an MP should be able to say, they've been elected by their constituents for the duration of the term of Parliament. So they should be able to stay in post as long as they want. But of course, here, I don't know. I just think if I was a constituent in Mid Bedfordshire, I would just be Mid Bedford, sorry, I'd be annoyed. I'd be annoyed that I had voted for someone that was using, clearly didn't really care about representing me, but was instead using the seat to hit back at a political enemy.